Hi, this is Sean, and in this lesson we're going to look at dominant motion. I really love dominant motion. All it means is putting a dominant chord in your improv where they otherwise don't exist on your tune to create some great motion in your solo phrases. Please do hit like on this video, and if it's your first time, please do subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload new content. It also helps us spread the word on YouTube so the channel can grow. So this is the first in a series of 3 lessons that I created for Jazz Skills members on this subject. They go into more depth with more phrases, but the first one's public, so here goes. So dominant motion, first of all, what is it and what can we do with it? Well, dominant motion means inserting a dominant chord, and it can be some other chords, which we'll see as well, before the next chord in your improvisation, which normally won't be written on the lead sheet. So how do you do it? Well, begin with 3 chords that land on the next one. There are 3 possibilities. So for example, let's say you have F7 written. I just have a left hand simple F7. We could go C7 to F7. Why? Because C7 is the dominant chord of F. So it can be an extra chord in our improv. It could also be, let's hear what C7 to F7 sounds like. It could also be E diminished. E diminished to F7. These can work, by the way, in comping as well, in chord playing, but today we're using them in improv. E diminished, why? Because E diminished is the extension of C7. Some people say that's a flat 9, fine. For me, it's just E diminished over C7 to an F7. Okay, that's another form of dominant motion. And the final one we'll look at is F sharp 7 to F7. That's a tritone substitution. Now, tritone substitution from the beginning goes beyond the scope of this video, but I'll put my link in it below so you can learn more about that. Suffice to say, we're looking for a dominant chord that's a half step above where we want to go. In this case, F sharp 7 being a half step above F7. Okay, so where can you do it? I mean, you can do it wherever you want, wherever it sounds good, but I would begin with 2 5s. I find those really nice places to insert dominant motion, and try putting these extra dominant sounds on beats 3 and 4 and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and is where we're going to be inserting dominant motion. So let's try some out. Here's some examples on a tune. Let's take perdido, if you say it properly, 2 5 1 in B flat, 2 C minor 7 5 F7 to B flat major 7. Okay, a bar each, so it'll be 2 5 1. Okay, and let's see how we can insert dominant motion into that. Well, first of all, there's a C7, which didn't otherwise exist. So we had C minor 7. On the 3rd and 4th beat, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then of course B flat major. Now let's try and build some lines on that. Let's say, okay, I won't teach too much about what I'm doing on the F7. I'll concentrate more on the dominant motion part. So C minor 7 to F7, when I'm in the key of B flat, I'm really using the B flat major scale or the F7 scale, which has the same notes, but for various reasons I think of it differently because it outlines different tensions. But anyway, let's make a line like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. So this is an extended C7. I've gone all the way up to the 9. No big deal. But notice how that came on beats 3 and 4 and, which is what I promised you earlier, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. And now I'm on F7. Okay, I'm just going to improvise my F7 extension. Let's see. 3 and 4 and 1. Something like that. Okay, let's try another example like that. And let's have... Okay, so straight down a C minor 7th chord. Straight up one of those extended C7s from the E, from the 3rd. Let's make the chord very clear. Okay, that kind of thing. You take ideas like that, begin cutting off the first note. They start to swing more as well, right? Maybe put a half step before. So what used to just be 2/5 becomes a more C7 type of sound. I cheated on that one by mistake. But that's going to lead us on to the next possibility, which is using the E diminished. Why? Because C7, if we extend it to a flat 9, we get an E diminished. Okay, I've got other videos on how E diminished relates to C7, but C7 is one of the related dominants of E diminished. Okay, so where we had ideas that extended up like that, maybe they'll extend up to the diminished, or down like this, or however, as long as that diminished note comes in. Okay, so let me try and create a couple of phrases like that. I'm just going to improvise them and see what comes out, and then if there's anything worthwhile, I'll show you. Okay, so let me try and remember what most of that was. I think it was like that. That's just an extra half step note using B flat major notes because I'm on a chord in B flat, C minor 7, down to C minor 7, up an E diminished. I think it was something like that. Whatever, the extensions we won't worry about too much. This lesson is about inserting that extra E diminished. Okay, let's try another one that uses E diminished. There we go. So that's an extended C minor 7 all the way up to its 9. E diminished. You can insert that, if you're just using a shell, you can insert the E if you want to give it more power of direction. That kind of thing, okay? Let's see if we can find one more like that. Great, so this time it won't all be chord notes. We'll go up a scale and then we'll go up the diminished. So there's the B flat major scale or F7 scale again. F7 is just this, right? Some people say, why are they different? Maybe we'll do a lesson on why they're different, but they outline different tension and release. So scale notes. I really like things like that because the E has been surrounded by notes of the B flat major scale. So they're always nice entrances when you do that. And straight up an E diminished, back to an F7 note, right? That kind of thing. Again, experiment with inserting an extra note at the beginning, a half step below. Or experiment with cutting the first note off. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3. Notice all the dominant motion we've been putting in. I call it dominant motion even though this is a diminished because diminished are related to dominants very closely. This is E diminished. This is C7 with a flat 9, right? So they're almost the same thing. They're always the 3 and 4 and, the way we're inserting them. Okay, so here's a note cut off. Something like that, right? Without that, it would have just been 2, 5, which is fine, but with a dominant motion, or diminished in this case, you get some really lovely stuff, okay? And then the final version, we're going to be using F sharp 7 this time. So the F sharp 7, let's see what we can do with that. Yeah, maybe, so... Yes, so down, again, the extended C minor. Up an F sharp 7. And then the nearest F7 note, okay? Let's try it again. Okay, now with a note cut off. That kind of sound, right? So we get all kinds of beautiful motion in our improv that otherwise wouldn't exist. Now on to some further study. Well, one thing that you can do is, to be honest, there are several things you can do. This is extending the 2. So because 2-5, C minor 7 to F7, actually functions as 5 as a dominant. That's a whole nother show as well. But because of that, we can delay that 2 until the second bar if we want, and insert its dominant beforehand, because G7 is the dominant of C minor. 5 away. So what used to be 2-5 to the 1 can become 2, the dominant of 2, and then 2-5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That can bring out some lovely improvisation lines as well. Let me just improvise a few so you get the idea. Let me try another one. So what's going on? We're going up the B flat major again, up a G7 chord, and then C minor 7 to some sort of F7. I don't remember if that's exactly how I did the last bit, but the first bit was definitely the same. B flat major, G7, C minor 7, F7. Okay, so these are just a few ideas that can go even further. So I hope you enjoyed that, and if you did, perhaps you'll consider becoming a Jazz Skills member, where I have lots more of this kind of thing. Plenty of lessons on improv, chord movement, voicings, learning tunes, how to practice, how to actually get fluent, plenty of that sort of thing. Thanks a lot for watching. See you on the next one. Bye for now.